They're now going to start firing on the spot. And this is where they work in pairs. The front rank man will fire his shot. He will then reload. He's now covered by his file partner, who will remain loaded, and he will not fire until his file partner has fired theirs. And this always ensures one of them is loaded. His barrel's facing away, whereas the rear rank man will push his barrel to the rear. And this is always ensuring that the dangerous end of the weapon's not going to hurt them, it's only going to hurt the enemy or the officer stood behind them. They're now firing and advancing, and as you saw there, the front rank man fires, then his file partner goes past him. And remember, that person's already loaded. And this method of engaging the enemy enabled us to push the fight to them, because it's all about your force numbers against theirs. But this is also where the rifles got their nickname from the French, because they called us grasshoppers. Because as you can imagine, in the fields in Flanders and Portugal and Spain, where crops are growing, they'll be 2-3 foot high. So when these guys are near them, what you see is the tops of their regimental caps, and then the French will just see these riflemen pop up, run forward, and then drop down.
The era of the Battle of Waterloo. You may have heard of the famous thin red line. The British infantry often fought it in lines, and here you see the redcoats advancing in column. Often the French would fight in column, and the line formation gave extra firepower.
Backwards wheel on the left backwards wheel.
Just to take you through the uniforms, starting at the top we have the Belgic shako. You can see that this makes the soldiers look taller and more intimidating for the enemy. It can also misdirect their fire, as they may aim for the centre of the shako, and there's a hole there, so it might avoid the soldier's head. There's a cockade in the shako. It's a white and red feather cockade, and the uniforms for the Guards regiments were paid for by the king at the time, so they could afford the fancy feathers. An accurate form of fire. So the gun here is a Brown Bess musket, and it's got a long barrel, and it's got a smooth bore inside. So the lead ball that will go inside will potentially bounce around a little bit inside that barrel, making it less accurate, but the extra length helps to improve that accuracy. You can see here that they are loading, and they have cartridges which are kept in cartridge boxes at the back. The cartridges have black powder, gunpowder. There would be a lead ball, and there'd be paper surrounding it. And they would use the ramrod to push the ball down into the barrel with some gunpowder behind. Also at the top, there's a pan which is also loaded with black powder. Now sometimes there may be a misfire, and maybe a flash in the pan. You may have heard that expression. Also the term going off at half cock came from the use of the musket.
Wheel to the left wheel.
At the rear we have a drummer. The drummers were used in many ways in the army of the time, principally for signalling commands. On the battlefield, the drummer would give commands for fire and ceasefire, and through the camp they would give commands for waking up, for meal times, and assisting the men with marching. Drummers were paid an extra penny a day, and that's because they were a target for the enemy as part of the communication structure. The drummer's coat has a lot of lace on it. It's the fleur de lis, as a reference to France in
shoulder, up. Well, backwards wheel on the left backwards wheel. March. Halt. Halt. Arms. Charge. Bayonet. Eyes right. Quick. March. Left.
So you can see the bayonet, which can be mounted to the front of the musket there, and that gives extra length for fighting. It's also an effective deterrent for cavalry. So at the Battle of Waterloo, as a defence against cavalry attacks, the soldiers would go into a square position. Are moving forward now to engage the enemy command there. So in 1850, the bugle was one of the latest pieces of military technology, and the significant advantage it gave was to be able to give commands clearly across a much wider area, particularly useful when fighting in the forests of North America. The pitch of the bugle is higher, whereas the drums can be sometimes drowned out by the rumble of gunfire during the battle. You can hear that bugle cutting through the soundscape there.
Stay, he said close, no moving. Remember to take casualties.
So now the redcoats are moving into position. Firepower at short range is effective.
Watch loading, comes to recover. Guards, halt! Got with volley fire, make ready! Presents! Fire!
So the rifle hits, and this would be perhaps the difference between untrained militia, volunteers, and load the weapons quickly.
Presents! Fire! Recover!
So now you can see the rifles are fixing short swords to their rifles, which will be effective for close quarters combat.
Arms! Four arms! Go to advance! Eyes right! Quick! Fast! Left! 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 Right! Left!